Good morning, minions, and welcome to this week's instalment of what we lovingly know as No More Mr. Fat Guy TV. Before we start off, we'll just point out that today is, I think, the 22nd of November. So we're basically, including today, have 9 days remaining of Movember. So just to get this one out of the way, this is the Clark Gable that's taking shape, looking a lot more like a dodgy, sleazy car salesman than anything else, but it has about 9 days left, and then it's time for the chop, and I'll be glad to get rid of it, to be honest. Now, a couple of news items, really, a couple of sort of updates. They kind of relate to this idea of running from Perth to Brisbane as the big sort of focus, but also more generally the actual sort of, the concept of running changes lives that I've been, the message that I've been sort of trying to really get across and to promote, and basically try and convince other people that they can change their lives in a similar way to what I have. On the first one is there is actually an active project at the moment where we're putting together essentially an anthology of short stories that really it comes from I guess from the idea that I was running on the blog with the profiles of individuals that have got a running story, a story where certain things in their lives have brought them to running, and actually doing that has helped them to make some kind of change and turn some things around in their life or make some improvements. So we're really building on that and getting people to write down essentially a potted version, a potted biography of their story. What we're going to do is package that up together as an ebook, and it'll probably take the title of Running Changes Lives, which is basically the name that we've been putting out. I've been putting out there for a little while. That'll be available hopefully by the end of the year, maybe early next year. The idea being that it will be available. There'll be a cost involved with it, but essentially any money that is charged for the ebook will, I think it's going to be split between the Believe in Blaze, so Blaze Wyatt, the charity that's currently the focus of the Rogue Runners Australia, and also that's which will be the focus of that final leg, Brisbane to Ipswich in 2015. So that we're going to take a portion of any of the money will go to the Rogue Runners fund that's going towards Blaze and receiving therapy and helping them get that therapy. The remainder, I think it'll probably be a 50-50 split, but the remainder will either go towards the run itself or directly into the main charity, which I'm going to be, which is really the second piece of news that I've got. The charity, I've now got a charity, basically I'm going to now be running from Perth to Brisbane, raising money essentially, and raising awareness on behalf of the Health Foundation in Western Australia. This follows on from basically I've had a few discussions and a meeting there. There's some fantastic synergy, some fantastic crossover between what I'm trying to promote and basically the change that I've made to my life and the things that I'm really excited about and the reason why I make these videos, to try and get the message out there, and the blogging and everything else. Basically the Heart Foundation, a lot of people might think that the Heart Foundation is about raising money for sort of maybe research and maybe sort of medical care and surgery and machinery and that kind of thing. A lot of the work of the Heart Foundation is actually more about prevention. I mean, it's obviously better to prevent people from suffering from heart disease than it is to try and cure them afterwards, or to try and alleviate the sort of the after effects and the impacts of suffering from heart disease if they survive. So there's an awful lot about I guess in changing changing lives and improving lives and making good, sensible lifestyle choices. So for me, that really does fit in with this idea of anybody and everybody can actually just turn on a switch and go out and achieve whatever they want to achieve. And primarily, that really would, in a lot of cases, that is going to start from getting a foundation of fitness. Once you get fit and healthy, other areas of your life will just spark into action. So there's a great deal in common there with the Heart Foundation. So I had a meeting with them. I had a meeting with them yesterday, as it is. So that was November the 21st. Basically, so much in common, so many things that we can, basically things that I can promote and things that they can potentially help me with getting my message out there. So that's now the prime charitable cause for the run from Perth to Brisbane. That in many ways makes it simpler to explain it to people as well. The fact is that if you can explain these things in relatively simple terms and in words of sort of like one syllable or less, then people get it, and therefore you get more interest in it, and so overall that will do everybody a lot more good in the long term. So that's absolutely fantastic. I'm genuinely excited. It's going to see some interesting possibilities. I think I might be taking part in a couple of events that I wasn't going to be taking part in next year, under the Heart Foundation banner. Getting my story out there, getting some publicity, and also that will then feed into this the Perth to Brisbane. So those two pieces of news, really two different things that essentially are leading up to the same idea. It's all about promotion, publicity, getting the message out there, and helping raise awareness of not only the No More Mr. Fat Guy mission and message, but raising awareness and some funds for Blaze, and making a start on this new sort of direction, this new official sort of alliance that's now effectively in place with the Heart Foundation. So that's it's just a fantastic start to yet another chapter in the No More Mr. Fat Guy story that started life as I feel terribly out of shape and unfit and on the verge of maybe a year or two away from a heart attack. I just want to get fit and be able to run a marathon, and then it was going to end effectively. That was going to be it. So essentially, it's yet another chapter starting in a story that seems to be never ending and will probably go on for quite some time yet. So look out for more information on both those things on the website, on the Facebook page, and perhaps in a future video. Now, in terms of topics to talk about today, there's a few knocking around on the page and other discussions I've been having that have sort of ended up as I've kind of amalgamated them into one kind of sort of grouping, really. There have been conversations had about planning, about how I was useless at planning, and there have been conversations I've had about organisation, how basically how disorganised I am. So I was no good at planning, no good at organisation. My motivation, it cuts into motivation. My motivation was lacking, my discipline was lacking. I really wasn't doing any, all these kind of things that I wasn't doing, all this stuff that I should have been doing, and never quite got myself into and got my head around. And I was trying to come up with something out of all that to talk about. And when I thought about it, it really boils down to going back to this whole idea of motivation and needing to have some kind of inner motivation that is bigger than just willpower, bigger than just an I should, and bigger than just it'd be a really good idea if. So really the topic now is for today is why you need to have that why. It's something that a lot of internet marketers get into. Oh, you've got to have a big why, because if you've got a big why, then it's going to enable you to do what is necessary to go out and sell lots of products that people don't want to the people that don't want them. So this is kind of my spin on that story of why, and for me, you need to have something inside, that massive motivation inside you for several reasons. Now, firstly, it's hard work. Make no mistakes about it. If you're going to try and make changes in your life, whether it's in terms of taking up running, or whether it's in terms of doing something that's not even necessary to do with physical exercise, whatever it is hard work. Now, in terms of running, that hard work comes out as a physical thing. Then, like you could be, you wake up in the morning and you don't want to get out. You just have mornings where you don't want to get out of bed, no matter how much you're into your running. Even if you absolutely love it, there will be mornings where you simply, you just don't feel like doing it. Then you'll get mornings where you did feel like doing it. You'll get up and you'll be halfway into a session. I mean, like this morning, I did an interval session, 1 kilometre repeats, and about halfway in, my legs were, I could feel there was nothing, temporarily there was nothing there. It was like they were beginning to ache, they were beginning to be a bit numb, and that then, mentally you start sort of switching off, and it becomes very hard work, and you've got to sort of push through that. And you're not going to push through that unless you've got some kind of inner motivation. If you don't have that motivation there, it's all too easy to just go, oh well, today it's just not there, the energy levels are lacking, I'll just call it a day and walk home. And that will take you nowhere. So you've got to have that inner motivation to get you over those little, you're going to hit those no matter what it is. You're going to get those little temporary setbacks. You're going to get those little, you're going to get the peaks and troughs of your abilities and your motivation levels and your even your energy levels. So you've got to have that something deep inside that's going to keep pushing you, at the times when you don't actually want to be doing that hard work. It's hard work mentally as well. You're basically going to have to do things in terms of mentally, emotionally, discipline-wise. You're going to have to start doing things that you probably, if you're at a point where you need to make change in your life, you're going to have to start doing things that you probably haven't done to date. And for me, that's things like organisation and planning. Those things were never on my radar. They were never anything I was particularly good at. They are things that I'm not particularly good at now, even with things that I'm not that motivated and excited about. With the running and so like the exercise, I do have that motivation, and so I'm finding that without realising it, I am getting organised, and I'm planning out my weekly schedules, and I'm planning out when I'm going to be running events. I'm going to be planning and organising all kinds of different things. But I don't really realise that I'm doing it because I just do it because I really want to be doing what achieving the things and doing the things that I need to, that planning and that organisation and those little tasks will take me step by step towards. So because I've got that inner motivation, it stops feeling like hard work quite so much. It stops feeling like it's something that I should be doing. It stops feeling like I have to sit down and try and be organised and disciplined because it just happens. So it'll take you over that sort of that bump as well. It's hard work emotionally. I think if you make any significant change in your life, and this is something I've been dealing with quite a bit in the last few months. If you make changes of any significant nature, you start having to confront you start being confronted with basically the old version of yourself. You start being confronted with what you were before the changes were made. Probably the most tangible thing that's happened in recent times for me is I happen to, for various reasons, I happen to be looking through my Facebook timeline of stuff that I was posting, like a couple of years ago and 3 years ago and beyond. And I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't like what I found. I didn't like what I read, and I found an awful lot of the stuff that I'd posted before highly confronting, very negative, very bitter, very ranty. I mean, I've been known for being very politicised and ranting and raving a lot about politics and literally wasting an awful lot of energy on that kind of stuff. But at the time, I guess I was a sort of like the angry young man, or angry not so young man, that thought that maybe ranting and raving was somehow making a difference. But as I read through those recently, it sort of just dawned on me it wasn't anything other than just negative stuff. I was just putting out negative after negative after negative after negative, and that really became a bit of a negative sort of like self-feedback loop that really just dragged me down further and just embedded me and enmeshed me further into that sort of negative mindset and that sort of bitter, cynical sort of life that I had, and that way of thinking I had, and that lack of achievement. And so, for me, I mean, what I've done this week, I've deactivated my old Facebook account and started a new one. And I've basically said that's effectively my online digital reboot that is really a parallel to what I've done in the analog world, in the offline sort of real world. I've changed my life, offline, and now, then I was suddenly confronted with the shadows and the echoes of the past, really. To be honest, I mean, it's been good to review those things. It's been good, certainly when I've been looking back and in terms of telling my story and explaining where I've come from, and the reason why I've made changes, and the kind of negative person I was, and how that's been turned around into such positives. It's been good knowing that past. It's been good being able to see that and understand that. But to have that remaining there, really just started to feel like a bit of a millstone around my neck that was sort of weighing me down a bit, and just acting a little bit too much of a reminder. So really, it's been a case this week for me. It's been a case of sort of like shedding that old skin, and really just re-emerging as with this sort of like fresher, sort of cleaner, fresh, completely new start online, basically that just reflects who I am today and where I've got to in terms of the changes I've made in the last 2 years. Now that may not necessarily be the same for you. What you may find is that there are other things that remind you of the past. It may just be things that might even just be possessions that you have in the house, or it might be certain things that you do, certain groups that you hang out with, or certain friendships that you have, or whatever it is. If you make changes in your life, you're going to be confronted with your past in one way or another. There's going to be things that remind you of what you don't, what you're trying to change away from, and if you don't get rid of those, if you don't somehow shed those during the process of change itself, then once the changes are made, you'll probably still find that they're there, just kind of, you'll feel a little bit of a pull from them. You'll feel a little bit of a, I don't know, you just kind of just feel uneasy with certain things that are there. So at some point you may find that you need to do a lifestyle declutter, or a friends cull on Facebook, or whatever it is, and I guess ditching parts of your life that have basically been there for a long time is incredibly tough, because they've been there for a long time. So at some kind of level, there's a deep connection to those things. So if again goes back to, if you've got that massive internal motivation, and you've got that fire of passion, it's just burning away there, then that'll be the thing that takes you, that'll give you the motivation and the momentum and the drive and the ability to basically do that sort of skin shedding that you will need to go through that in some way, shape or form. It is hard, again, that's hard work. And just really finally, you need that motivation there, because you're going to have, you can have enthusiasm for something for a while, and that will take you I mean, the way I liken it really, if you take if we take something like personal relationships, if you've got an infatuation, you know that's kind of like having being enthusiastic about an idea and being fired up about it for a short period of time. It's kind of like an infatuation. If you're infatuated with somebody, you know that may see you through. Maybe it might last a month or a couple of months, or a couple of weeks, whatever. But if you're truly passionate about somebody, or you're truly passionate about pursuing a particular career, or you're truly passionate about making, you've got that motivation that gives you that passion for making changes to your life, then that will see you through everything and anything, and will keep it going forever. Basically, it will take you through the dark days, it will take you through the difficult stuff, it will take you through the hard work, it will take you through the bad times, and help make the good times so much better. But essentially, if that passion and that drive and that motivation, if they're not there, then you will soon find out, because as soon as you hit the first roadblock, you'll discover if it was just enthusiasm and infatuation, or whether it was something you genuinely want in your life, whether it's something you're genuinely passionate about, and whether it's something that you're genuinely willing to make the effort to see through to the end, and to keep it as part of your life forever. So on that note, I think we'll just wrap up for this week with the thought that it's going to be hard work. It's going to be incredibly hard work. You're going to find if you're making changes, it's going to be confronting. You're going to be confronted with the version of yourself that you're trying to get away from, and the only way that that's ever going to happen is if you're genuinely committed and motivated and fired up, passionate, and willing to see this thing through to the end. And if you do that, then you will emerge on the other side changed, transformed, improved, happier, a feeling of lightness in your life, a feeling of you'll be feeling more positive, and you'll be feeling more ready to just basically basically take life in both hands, stare it down firmly in both eyes, and say, bring it on. And on that note, I'll see you next week, and take care. Goodbye.